where, you know, she's
Yeah.
got a definite, a good flow of people coming to.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I made the jump into full-time entrepreneurship last spring. So it's been about a year and a half. And then when I first started, I mean, some weeks it would be like 8, but some weeks would be like 2 clients, like for the entire week, right? And now I'm pretty consistently at between 10 to 15 clients per week. I started working with Rachel in January, and I have seen a pretty big difference since January in many areas, like, my income, my consistent client flow, just my attitude when it comes to recruiting clients that might be, a better fit for my services. Um, and just overall, like a greater sense of direction and intention and power, honestly, over the way I run my business.
Yeah, like you're
Hmm.
literally driving it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. What would
Yeah.
you
It feels
say
good.
in terms of like your confidence?
My confidence has gone up a lot. Over for a number of reasons, right? I mean, I think there's like no replacement for actually just like doing the
I
work
agree.
and doing a lot of clients and just seeing all of the effectiveness happen over my clients' journeys. Um, but I will say there were actual exercises that I did. Um, some assigned by Rachel to kind of improve my confidence. Before our first round of Live Your Dharma, I did a 21-day visibility challenge, and that just helped me with desensitizing myself to fear of judgment or rejection when it came to hypnotherapy. Because hypnotherapy, like any other alternative forms of healing, like is um, stigmatized in a certain way or like misunderstood. Like you think of hypnotherapy and sometimes people think of mind control or stage hypnosis. And I had this fear of exposing myself as a hypnotherapist and getting, judgment based off of it. And when I did the 21-day Instagram visibility challenge, in which I just posted every day for 21 days, I really got to see that like most of the time the feedback is positive, and also like it really wasn't that bad. Like exposing myself, like being vulnerable and visible. And I think also that it like this conscious exercise, right, of doing this really helped me to prove to myself and to like make that new neural pathway that it's fine to kind of just be my authentic self and show people who I really am. And I feel good about it. Now I'm really just proud to be a hypnotherapist. I think it's like one of the biggest secrets of the world that I wish.
Would not
Yeah.
disagree.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wish more people knew about it, that they don't have to deal with this internal struggle with as much energy that they put into habit change. And I see myself differently. I see myself as somebody that can really um, have the ability to progress hypnotherapy as a field, um, and I have the leadership abilities and drive in order to really make this world a better place through hypnotherapy. And so now it's like I've kind of like taken that proactiveness, like rather than kind of like let the fear of what other people might think, like create this meekness in the way that I behave in my world. Yeah.
Oh, so good. I
Mhm.
love that I see myself differently. And I think
Mhm.
true,
Mhm.
when we start to see ourselves in a different light,
Mhm.
everything starts to shift and it's quite magical.
Yeah, and I definitely do observe that because.
Yeah, such a beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, because Rachel does talk a lot about that, how she believes that a lot of our success actually comes from our beliefs about ourselves. And if we can really be solid and secure about that, then the way that everything manifests around us looks differently because we feel differently about ourselves and our own capabilities. And I have seen that carry out in my own practice because yeah, my practice is full. I raised my prices. People are still paying at those prices. Um,
How much did
and
you go up like 4 times or something?
yeah, so
Something
yeah,
like
my income,
crazy that
yeah,
most people
yeah,
are like, "Yeah, that's not real." And I'm like, "No,
yeah.
it really is. It's really possible. You can really like double, triple your income." I know,
Hmm.
in the business world, like I remember when I
Yeah.
my first business, like, well, don't expect to like, increase your income by more than 2 or 3%. And then it's like,
Yeah.
I just did 50%. And people are like, yeah, I'm like, no, really?
Yeah, yeah. So when I first started working with Rachel, she was like, "Yeah, expect to double every year," and I was like, "Oh, wow!" And then that means like by my fifth year, I'm going to be a millionaire. It just at that time it sounded crazy, but then I've always
Still
been
sound crazy?
working. Yeah, it does not sound crazy anymore. Just given like how like this program has actually helped me. So it's only been like I started working with her in January. It's now September, and I've tripled my income from January. And it's been incredible to just see how just believing in myself, like believing I'm worth the price that I'm charging now, and like valuing my time differently, like how that's really actually manifested in more income. Yeah. So,
Okay, Clarissa. So
yeah.
I'm always like, I love sharing the personal wins of my client.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
I do actually really think it's valuable for people to hear not just the impact it is like on you, right? Like, which is amazing.
mhm.
Clarissa's had a lot of
Yeah.
amazing wins. I do not want to diminish any of that. I think it's incredible.
Mhm,
The trickling effect of this work, I think, is extremely the compounding effect, I should say.
mhm.
Work to me is what gets me so excited and up every day and like, oh my God, let's keep going, right?
Yeah.
Will you share with them like one or two or, a few stories of some of the stuff that's your clients have now experienced because of you growing your belief and because of you elevating yourself into this role of leadership, which I 100% agree. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and so within the past few months, I've actually worked with some clients that were more challenging for me. Before that, like I've had clients that like it was starting to feel more straightforward. Like I understood how to approach their hypnotherapy program. It worked as predicted. And then recently, like a few clients signed in which the challenge was greater, honestly. Like it took longer for some of the effects to take place. Um, and one of my clients, like he actually is diagnosed with moderate depression, and he's one of the ones in which I had to work a lot on myself in order to really show up to be the hypnotherapist and the coach that he needed, just because like he had these expectations of himself of where he wanted to be at this point in his life, and also therefore had a sense of this urgency about like where he wants to be in our hypnotherapy program by when. Like there were just these like expectations of like, I wanted to start working very quickly. And basically I wanted to have worked
yesterday.
yesterday.
I
Yes,
know, so
exactly.
often. I mean, I felt that way. Let's be real.
Yeah, yeah. And I get it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really had to work on myself too. It's because I understood his sense of urgency. Like I've been there, and I wanted him also to get what he wanted, right? Just these quick results. And it just wasn't coming at the speed that he wanted. And I think for me to um, really not allow his urgency to become my urgency, to not interpret like all of this as a lot of effort with not the outcome that I want, and to really just be able to hold that belief for him, because he did say a couple times like during our um, program together, like one of the reasons why he does think it's helpful for him to keep going is because I really do believe in him. And so for myself, like even though like yeah, like I wanted him to be satisfied.
Course,
Yeah, I
right?
exactly, yeah. But still like doing the work when it came to patients, like guiding him through that, but also guiding myself through that. And this is a client that like I've brought to our office hours and to our calls to get coaching on pretty frequently with Rachel, and she really helps me like not just work through like his therapeutic process, but my own, and how if he's going to sense that like that I have the urgency that I'm buying into from him, then it's going to create even more of that urgency in him. But if I can truly model that this pace is just right, like it's the pace that he needs to go at, then he can tap into that belief in himself that yes, it might feel like a long process, but he's going to get where he needs to get, at the end of our work. And so really learning that patience with him, patience with myself, holding that belief for him, continuing to point out, like Rachel calls it, the 1 degree shifts, and then those are the little ways in
The
which,
baby ones, in case anyone.
yeah. Yeah, so it's like the little ways in which you see your life and your perspective starting to change, which I did see, like from session 1 to even session 3, and we've done so far 13 sessions together. But for him, he's kind of like so just sunk into like his like ways of thinking about himself as just like not there yet, like not good enough yet, where it was just really hard for him to really internalize. Like this is one of the cases where he logically understood, right? But then like it was hard for him to have that visceral feeling of like everything that I'm doing right now, essentially who I am right now is enough, like where I am is enough. And so for me to continue to point it out, and also this is where kind of like that release came from, right? Like, that patience where like, I know that he'll come into this understanding in his own time, and that day will come. And for me to continue, like even if I don't see the results just yet of him seeing this himself, even though I'm seeing it, like to still continue with my work with that foundation of having that belief that he's going to find a better place for himself. And yeah, I mean, he continued to show up for the work. I did too. And then, yeah, recently he did say that, like, he realized something about his impatience was that, that it was actually like blocking him from showing up to his actual work, because there was a fear of like when he does show up to the work of working on self-love, or like going out there and doing the things that he sees himself doing, that there was like a fear of failure there. And so it's almost as if the focus on the impatience and the urgency is like a protective factor for him to avoid like actually going out, doing things, right? Like meeting people, like getting out of the rut that he feels like he's in right now. And I thought it was amazing for him to come to that conclusion, right? And there's always like, there's things that I point out, and there were things that I know, but when like I can see him start to actually come to that belief on his own, it's just so satisfying. Yeah. I can remember like recently, because he's always asked the question, because he gets pretty deep into hypnosis, and I give clients a recording every session, and whenever he listens to it, like he wakes up at the end, but he gets so deep that he doesn't quite remember some of it, and he's like questioning, like, did I fall asleep, or is this working or not? And then recently, he just had an experience where he came around to that and was like, oh, I think it actually is like subconsciously working, because I somehow always still wake up when I cue him to wake up. And so I think him making that connection helps him with realizing that things are always just working in the background. Like you might not see like how the tangible results of it, which was what was hard for him before. But even being able to acknowledge like things are happening, even if I can't see it happening, was a huge win for both him and me, because he used to be so focused on the metrics, right? Like how much money he was making, how, like whether or not like, he had a wife and kid at a certain age that he expected, right? But for him to start really believing that there are intangible ways in which he's progressing was just like, whoa. Oh, it's like, oh, this is so wonderful. Yeah.
Why I'm such a big believer in like intangible's great, but it's why
Yeah.
I think it's so important to share these intangibles.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. And for him, like, I've had some pretty dramatic cases, right? In which like, the result was just like very, very quick, very huge. It's like, a client that was scared of flying is now flying in a fairly like, in 6 sessions time. But I felt like this with this client was just such a gratifying experience, because just the way that he was wired, right? And there are some things that are keeping him from fully going all in to the experience. And like having a client like this, like where it really was a exercise of patience and belief that things are gonna go well, even if we couldn't really see it. Like where I've had other clients, it's like very clear, like session after session, they were making progress. I think it was so good for me, for my belief in myself as a hypnotherapist, as well as for him, like for his belief in himself too. So I think even though this wasn't like a very dramatic case, it wasn't like, sparkly or shiny in any way. I feel like it's so beautiful, like in its own way.
So many
So
lessons,
yeah, for
so many
sure, for
growth.
sure.
So
Yeah, yeah. And I even think that for him, that in a way, this win is is a huge. It's so much more valuable, like being able to have this win when you can't see that immediate result. Like that is something that is so memorable for me about him. I would say, like, throughout this year, like this experience with him like really stands out, just because of how not glamorous, like, the whole process is. And that's the thing. It's like healing isn't always glamorous, right? Like we think about it like this, like experience, like this, like
yeah, just like mind-blowing
yeah.
unicorns coming out of the head.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And to understand healing as that, I think I really internalized this from this client, was that healing is not an experience, it's a process. And sometimes we expect healing to be an experience and we get discouraged by the fact that it's a
So
process,
glad you just said that.
right?
It journey.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a journey. Yeah. 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 And so, yeah, I mean, I just loved how this client journey turned out, in which it was really just like, you know, nothing like out there, nothing cool. It was just like showing up to the work like every single day, and just like, just that intangible belief in the future that, one day our work is going to turn into something that is a sustainable change. And such a big lesson for me. So
I'm
yeah.
so glad you shared that story.
Mhm.
I had no idea what
Yeah.
Clarissa was gonna share. But yeah, there's been
Yeah.
it's really beautiful. It's been beautiful
Hmm.
for me to watch, on the
Yeah.
other side, but I mean, I don't even know this guy, but I'm
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
excited for
Yeah.
him and now the possibilities that it opens up for him in his life. It's really beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah. I'm really proud of myself for this client,
And
honestly,
you
like, because
should
yeah.
be. I mean, he,
Yeah.
was not an easy one,
Mm-mm. Yeah.
but it's the
Yeah.
hard
And
ones that help us grow the most, truly.
yes,
I
yes.
shouldn't say that.
And
I should say that the more challenging clients can help us elevate.
yes,
It's not that the easy ones don't help us elevate too. It's just in
for
different.
sure. For sure. For sure. In a different way. Yeah. And to really like sit through it and not need that affirmation like right away every single time, I think was such a valuable muscle to build.
Like one that you
Yeah.
can't put any amount of money, time, anything on really, because
Hmm.
that validation that as a coach, as a healer, that let's be honest, most of us experience that it's like a dopamine hit, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
head, they got a aha moment. Ah, I feel good. I'm good. And when you
Yeah.
can hold that belief in your client without
Hmm.
those, that is
Hmm.
like what's sustainable because those
Yes.
dopamine hits, like the
Hmm.
glass of wine, let's be honest, or the Oreo cookie,
Yeah.
are
Hmm.
short
Hmm.
lived.
Yes, yes, definitely. I think I was lucky in the way that my client journeys have turned out, because at the beginning, when I did need to build that confidence of like, okay, hypnotherapy works. Okay, I can deliver hypnotherapy in a way that it works. It's like those dopamine hits like worked for me to like validate like when I needed it, and like I think this client just came at the exact right time when I needed to build that belief. So,
Yeah, I
mhm,
agree.
mhm.
I, I don't know exactly what you believe in, Clarissa, but I
Yeah,
believe the universe, God, whatever you believe in, is
right.
it's on our he, she, whatever, it's on our side. And it
Mhm,
does
mhm.
intentionally put certain roadblocks, detours in our path. And it's not to say that everything happens for a reason, but
Mhm.
there are times where I think, yeah, like, yeah, this happened at this point because God, universe knew
Yeah.
ready for this next level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about that divine timing.
Yep.
And yeah, even though at certain points, I'll be honest, like I was just like, oh man, like I'm getting discouraged or like I like I'm just like, "Oh, Rachel,
I
I'm
know.
pulling my hair out." Yeah.
I was. And it's
Yes. But that just points to the work that I had to do within myself, which is why I really love coaching, because like whenever we work with clients and we can understand our own emotions about that client, like we just elevate, like not just as a coach, as a human being, you
yeah,
know. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
me too. That's like the number
Yeah.
one reason I love it. I feel like, yeah, it's just with each client, we also get the opportunity if we choose to step into it.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's
Yes.
so amazing, really.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so thank you so much, Clarissa, for coming live
Yeah.
today, for sharing your experiences and your clients' experience, and giving everyone a little bit of insight into really what it's about, because I think that's so, so valuable. I do want to say, if you're listening and you or a friend or someone who's struggling with anxiety, please reach out to Clarissa. She is, yes, my client. So, of course, I'm going to give her name to anyone and everyone, but she is really, truly gifted. And I mean, I've had the fortunate experience of experiencing sessions with Clarissa, but like she's also been so giving to my community that she's got everyone in the freaking group cohort that can also sing her tunes. Of course, the thousands of clients that she's also worked with. But I want people to know that you don't have, like, you or that friend, they don't have to stay in that place. And although hypnosis may feel scary, know that, I hope you would know, anyone who knows me knows, I would never put you into something that I thought was going to harm you. It's just not my nature. So, Clarissa, you can DM her here on Facebook. You can find Clarissa, give them all your information in case someone's listening is like, oh my God, I need this girl in my life.
Sounds good. I will put my contact info in the comments.
Perfect. Oh my God,
Mhm.
even better. Yeah, because no one writes this shit down anyway, right? And if you're listening right now and you want to elevate to the level like Clarissa is with clients, then we got two opportunities. You can join me live in Florida in November for the Live Your Dharma live event. It's 3 days of just coaching, basically elevating your skills, elevating you as a human. Let's be real, that's what comes with it. If you don't want that, it's not your cup of tea. We're also going to probably sing a little bit and dance a little bit, because anybody who's been in one of my cohorts, we do that virtually. So of course we're going to do it in person, and it's okay if you're tone deaf like me. Maybe even a little karaoke, who knows. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to find a, yeah. Anyway, that's a maybe. Maybe I just need to buy a karaoke machine at my mom's house. I don't know. I don't know if my mom wants that. Anyways, and then of course, mid-November we start the next group for the Live Your Dharma certification. And if you want some more information on what all that entails, just send me a message.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Rachel.
Thank you, Clarissa. Always a pleasure. Oh, so much love for you, girl. Um, and everyone out there, have a fantastic, fantastic rest of your week, what's left of it. And see y'all soon.